Alright, we're going to be working in Excel in this lesson. If you go to your assignments, you'll find this video as well as the Excel Monterey Art Gallery. We're going to click on that and download it. Now Excel is called a worksheet, okay? And what it's made up is a bunch of grids made up of different cells of rows and columns. When you first pull it up, you're going to notice this yellow bar up here. That's for your safety. Anytime someone sends you something, it won't let you do anything to that until after you enable it. So if you trust the person, you can enable it. If you don't trust the person, you never click on this. We won't be able to do what we need to do today unless you click on it, so go ahead and click on that. Now, we have rows right here numbered 1 through infinity, and we have columns A through the entire alphabet and so and onward. Rows and columns make up cells. If I want to find cell G7, we always say the column first and then the row. We find G, we go down until we find 7, and that is G7. Now we selected that cell by clicking in it. Okay, so that's how we identify a cell. Now, spreadsheets are used for financial purposes with businesses. They're used to keep track of inventories, budgets, sales reports, to help make financial decisions. We're going to be doing a little bit of all of this stuff. And for you at home, hopefully it becomes a tool that you can use to help you track your own budget, maybe do grading, I don't know, look at your own grades, organize investment portfolios, and so forth. Okay, so they can be used for a whole lot of different reasons. To start off this lesson, what we want to do is we're going to edit the Monterey Art Gallery worksheet, and so we can learn different aspects about this worksheet. So if we look at the bottom here of this worksheet, we have a bunch of tabs. These tabs split up the information into different, it helps us keep it organized, I guess how you can say it, into different sections of things that we want to be able to look at and have separated. You have arrows down here. These arrows allow you to move the tabs so you can see all the tabs. Right here, these 3 buttons also allow you to do that. So you have them on both sides, the 3 buttons. This plus means that you want to add a new sheet. So you only click on that if you want to add a new sheet. Alright, first thing we're going to do is we're going to come here to sheet number 1. We're going to right click on it and we're going to rename it. So we click on rename. This is Monterey Art Gallery, so we're going to call it the Mag Summary, and that's how we'll rename that. Now you can click anywhere in the worksheet to get off of it, and now you have a new name for that tab. Another thing that we can do is we can move tabs around. Let's say you see sheet number 2 down here. Let's say we don't like where it's at. So the reason why we didn't rename it is because we're going to delete it anyway, but if I left click on sheet and hold it down, you'll see that it brings up this black triangle here. And as I move that black triangle, that's telling me where, when I let go of my button, that's where it's going to place that sheet next. I want it in between the Mag Summary and the FY15 Online Cells, so I'm going to move my arrow there. I let go of my mouse button, and now sheet 2 is in between those 2 categories. Now I'm going to right click on the sheet, and if I go up and I hit delete, it gets rid of that sheet altogether. You need to make sure you only do that if you're 100% certain that you want to get rid of that sheet, because you won't be able to get it back. So anyway, that's what those tabs do, and that's how you can change them and move them around and make some edits. Alright, next we want to be able to select objects. Now objects, guys, are anything that you can click on, really. So for us, we're going to go over to the Cohen sheet, and you'll notice there's a picture up here. When I click on that picture, I've now selected that object. You'll also notice that it brings up this Format tab up here. If I click on that, that gives me a whole bunch of different formatting options to do with this picture. Click out of it so that you don't make any changes, but anyway, that's how we select an item, an object. Next, we want to enter and edit data, so we're going to go to the FY15 Online Cells sheet tab, which is right there. When I click on it, it brings me to the sheet, and you'll notice that up here in cell D5, we're missing whether or not it's oversized or not. So we're just going to simply type in the word no. And if we hit enter, that'll take me right down to tab B6, which also doesn't have anything in it. And we're going to type in the word no. And we can click outside of there, or we can hit enter. Either way, it's now saved in there, and we have no in there. Okay. So now that we've edited those, the next thing we'll want to do is we'll want to go to the first mag summary sheet, and we want to put in today's date. So we click on B23. Now we selected that cell, and we can do that by a formula. If we hit equal sign, anytime we do a formula, we'll always hit equals first and start typing the word today. You'll notice that it'll give you that option down here. Double click on it, and now it fills it in for you. The only thing you need to do is close the parenthesis by holding down shift and closing the parenthesis, and then you can click anywhere outside of there to make it take effect. Next, we want to put in our name, so we're going to click in the student name there. Anytime you click on something, even though you see there that it already says student name, anytime you click on it, if I start typing, that thing is going to disappear and be taken over. That's important to understand, because if you ever start typing within a cell, it will get rid of whatever you have. My name is Ian Harvey. I click on it, click anywhere else, and now I'm done. Now, because of the problem of me clicking in here, and if I type anything, now I've lost what I typed. What I'm going to do here, I don't want that to happen, but let's say I've put my name in here and I want to edit my name and put my initial in there. I can go here and double click, and that will give me a cursor inside of there, and it doesn't erase anything now. Now I can put my middle initial, and I've now edited that cell without losing my information. You can also click inside of there and hit F2, and it will have the same effect. It'll allow you to edit that cell. Okay. Now, adjusting rows and columns, we're going to go to the FY15 online cell sheet, and you see here that column C doesn't fill in all the names, right? Well, I can adjust it by going up here in between C and D, and you see that it gives me a double arrow. If I hold down my left mouse button, I can drag that to any size I want to. There's also a thing called automatic, it's called auto fit, and you can get that by putting your cursor in between D and E and just double clicking. I did it on the wrong one. Sorry, it's between C and D and double clicking. And that will move the cells to the size of the largest word within those cells, of the C cells. Now, we could do that with rows as well. 5, if I go in between 5 and 6 and I hold down the left mouse button, I can adjust the size of the rows. Say I want 33 for my height. So I can adjust it until I get to 33-ish. And there it is. And now that's 33. Let's say I want to change them all to the same size. What I can do is click up on the one, hold down the left mouse button, and select all the rows that I want to change. I go up here to the format button, click the down arrow, click the row height, and I want this to be 18.75 because 33 just looks too big to me. I click OK, and now all the rows have been changed to that size. You can do the same thing with your cells as I just did with the rows. So that adjusts the row size. Okay, next. We're going to do some grouping of rows and columns. Where we're going to go is the vehicle purchase category. And if we want to select something, all we do is hold down our left mouse button and drag. All of those things are grouped together, and that means any changes that I make will happen to everything that is highlighted there. I can also do non-adjacent things by first clicking in a cell, holding down the control button, and then clicking on any cell that I also want to make a change to. Non-adjacent means they're not touching, right? And so just by holding down the control button, I can select several different non-adjacent cells. Okay. All of those cells would be changed at the same time. We're going to highlight or select everything from B3 through D3. And what we want to do is we're first going to give it a bottom border. Right here under the Home tab in the Font section, we click this down arrow right here next to this, and this is our Borders button, and we're going to do a bottom border. Now while it's still highlighted, I'm also going to make it all bold. So I can just go up here on the Home tab and select bold, and now all of those are bold. I also want to change A4 through A6, and to do that I want to also make those bold, and I'm not going to put a border on those, but what I do want to do is center them. In the alignment section on the Home tab, right here, if you hover over it, it tells you it's center. You click on that and it has now centered those. So those are all centered as you wanted. Okay, we also want to increase the font size of those to size 12. So we come up here, again in the font size, we come down to 12, and now those are size 12s. And click outside of them to make those changes. Now, we can also copy and paste data. We're going to go to the Anders worksheet, which is right here. You'll notice in the Anders worksheet, I have to drag this over so we can see it, there's all the months here. If I click on Begay's worksheet, they don't have the months. So I'm going to go back to Anders. I'm going to left click in September and drag through August. I'm going to right click inside the purple. I'm going to copy that. This floating line here is called a marquee. It is very important that you don't tap anywhere that you don't want to copy this stuff. It's real easy in Excel to mess things up. So be very careful. Go back to the Begay, right click in cell C4 and click paste. And now we've copied over from the Anders worksheet here to the Begay worksheet. Now it's important to also understand that this is that the marquee is still on the Anders section. And if you click anywhere else, you're likely to start copying things you don't want to copy. So you hit escape, and now the marquee is gone. And so you don't need to be careful with that, okay? Okay. Now, there's a thing called fill handle that helps us also copy information. We're going to go to the June 15th Customer Traffic Data tab. And you'll notice here that we don't have the totals right here. When I click on I-5 and I look up here, I see that there's a formula here. And if I double click on it, it shows me what's highlighted. This formula adds up all those information. It says sum, meaning the addition of. I'm going to click escape so that I can not make any accidental changes there. Now I don't have to understand how to do that yet because I haven't taught you, but we can do what's called fill handle, which if you see this little green box here, and when I hover over it, it gives me this black plus sign. If I hold down my left mouse button and drag down I-5 through I-8, it will now copy that formula into each of those sections, only it will automatically read the change as well. Notice when I double click here, it read that I was trying to add the sum of this row. If I hit escape and I double click here, it also read that I wanted to add that one instead of the same rows as with the one I copied. So that's called the fill handle. Okay, there's also something called flash fill. I'm going to have to just show that to you another time. You know what? I can show that to you guys really quickly. If I go to the end of the worksheets, I can create a new worksheet. You can type in these emails yourself, but let's just say I want to put John here and I just want to be able to recognize all their names. Well, I click on John and hit enter, and what I can do is I can come over here in the Home tab to the Fill section and go all the way down to where it says Flash Fill. Notice that John's the first name, Avery, Philip, and Jenny. Well, if I click Flash Fill, it reads that I had that before the @ button, and therefore it gives me all the first names of all the people. Now, inserting lines and stuff like that, we're going to go to the Pana worksheet. Let's just say you just sold a new document, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert this in between 5 and 6. So I click below 5, and I come up here to the Insert button, and I insert a cell. And then we name this, let's say PE23 or whatever, and then we call it 3 Sisters. And there we've